Welcome to today's episode of BI4ALL Talks. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is responsible AI. I'm Patricia Morais, and here with me today we have André Pedrinho and Anunciação. And we are all part of the Center of Excellence of AI and Data Science. As we all know, AI has been increasing exponentially in the last few years, and from healthcare to finance, has been reshaping the industries and impacting our daily life. So it is very important to talk about AI and how AI systems can be developed in an ethical and responsible way. So firstly, André, what is responsible AI and why is it important?
Thank you, Patricia. Responsible AI is a set of good practices that we need to implement and we need to follow when we are deploying or develop AI systems. And this set of practices are supported by 4 principles. The first one is fairness. We need to ensure that every data we have is treated in the same way, since the data or the individuals that we are looking are in the same situation or in the same circumstances. Then we have privacy. We need to ensure that our data is protected. Is well protected. There are laws and there are requirements that we need to follow to protect and to turn our data private. Then we have transparency. So when we implement or deploying or developing an AI system, we need to ensure that the system is transparent for the developers and for everyone. We need to understand why a system is giving a given response, and we need to understand or analyze an unexpected result from our algorithm. And then we have accountability. The accountability is related with AI developers. So the developers need to understand what is behind the AI systems. They need to understand why an algorithm or a system is giving a certain response. And this is very important. I think we have AI nowadays in everything, for example, in your smartphone, on voice assistants, on social media. And people need to know that these principles exist and need to know that the AI systems follow these principles. Because if people knows these principles, people will trust in AI systems.
Yeah, let me just add that. So AI systems are very often discriminative. So it's about helping people to making decisions. That means that by definition, in many applications, they have to discriminate between people. So that's something that if it's not done in an ethical way, then it's bad. The application is going to have harmful consequences. That's why we need responsible AI. We need that we perform AI in an ethical way. And of course, we need all those features and that people are aware of the ethics of building the AI systems. And that's, I think, is very important also to spread this word.
And you mentioned that, as we all know, AI has a great impact on society. Can you give us some examples of how AI can impact the people in a positive way and also in a negative way?
Sure. So honestly, I believe that AI in general has a very positive impact on society. But we have to be careful when we are building an AI system so that it doesn't have unintended consequences. For example, if we consider the case of an AI system that will decide whether to give credit to someone. So, of course, an AI system like that will not use information such as, for example, the race of the person. However, it can use other information such as the address. So, of course, when we apply to a loan to get some credit, we need to give our address, for example. So it can use our postal code. And of course, we all know by the reality of our neighborhoods, we know that there are some neighborhoods that are mostly composed of people from certain minorities. Usually those people are, let's say, poor, and maybe some of them had some trouble, meeting their, or having a successful payment of their credits in the past. So that means that we may, let's say, people that apply for credit from those neighborhoods may find it difficult to get credit. And this can be a problem because just for the fact that you live in a neighborhood, a specific neighborhood, doesn't mean, just because of that you're not going to be able to pay your credit. In addition to that, this may provoke, because of course these kind of systems, then they are trained and retrained, and since you never give credit to people from those neighborhoods or from those minorities, because in this case it's more or less the same, that means that you will never ever, using this system, give credit to those people, because then you will not have history of positive credit payments from these people, because you never gave credit to them. So that means that if we just design an AI system like this, we may, show to the stakeholders very good metrics, and everyone is very happy. But in the medium and long term, we are propagating these biases. We are not just propagating, we are perpetuating these biases. So we need to have these things into consideration, and this is what is called exploitation of the models, because we always want to make our model the best possible. So we need not just to exploit the model, but also to explore. So, and when we explore, that means when we give opportunity for some people to have access to credit that otherwise they would not have, then we have here the opportunity to give, in this case, give credits to people that belong to minorities, that belong to social classes that usually are not so successful. So if in one way AI can have, let's say, harmful consequences for the society, in another way it can also help society. It can also help these minorities, giving them opportunities, and hopefully, improving also their lives.
I would like to mention one positive example, because I think it's good to mention these examples. For example, nowadays we are able to analyze huge volumes of data. For example, medical data, like images and so on, and we are able to detect on an early stage diseases like cancer, for example, cancer. And I think it's a good example of a positive impact that AI can have on society. But I agree with Orlando with this explanation, of course.
And so you mentioned fairness, and also you, André, already mentioned privacy, but that is a big concern for everyone. How does consent differs in the different types of AI applications? Did you understand? Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of privacy, so of course, whenever we have a lot of data together, a big database, we already have some privacy issues, especially if we have private information about people. So that's not a new problem. In the context of AI, we can have a problem of privacy. For example, there is one problem that no one talks about, that is in the context of the large language models. So they are trained with a lot of data, the large language models. And also when we use the free versions of the large language models like ChatGPT or any other, usually it says something there like your data may be used to help to improve the AI systems or the AI services. And of course, what that means is that your questions and the answers that the system gives you may be used for retraining the model in the future.
I think, sorry, Orla.
Yeah.
I think the people know that their data is being collected. However, people don't know that the data is being used to train
Yes.
the LLMs.
Yes.
Or the ChatGPT, whatever. I think that's because people don't know what is train, and I think probably this is a lack of democratization of AI, that we are talking too much democratization of AI. However, people don't know the basis. I think it's a problem.
But it's important then to explain to people that if their data is used to train a large language model, then it will be very difficult in the future to, let's say, remove that data from the large language model. It's a process called unlearning. But unlearning is a very difficult process, and especially in these very big models that take a lot of resources and cost a lot of money to train. So that's a big problem, because according to the European regulation, you have, according to GDPR, for example, you have the right to access your data and oppose yourself to the use of your data. And in fact, this is not really possible in the case that a large language model is trained using your data. So of course, we have here some, sometimes it's like, or the reality has to adapt to the regulation, or the regulation has to adapt to the reality, right? So this is just one example that I think it's important that people are aware of these challenges with these AI systems, and especially when they are free. Because when they are free, of course, companies also want to, have the right to have some profit from the usage of the systems.
Yeah, because we cannot say, like, for a model to choose this data from this person and erase it, right?
Yes, that's definitely not possible, or I cannot say that's not possible. It's definitely very, very difficult to achieve.
Yeah. What about different types of data collection? Not only written data, but also data that may have a impact on directly or indirectly in the human rights. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think people don't know. People, when people know that the data is collected, people need to know how the data is used, how the data is stored, how the data is protected. I think this is very important to people to understand and to have trust on these AI systems. And there is another thing that we need to address, to avoid biases, for example, on AI systems. We need to ensure that we are collecting data that represents well the population that we are studying. This will avoid biases, because you have to have data sets with a lot of data, with several examples for the variety that we have in the world. I think we can say on that way. But there are also problems with that. For example, we have some systems or some governments that are collecting data from cameras to improve the security on the country. And it's good to have AI to improve our security. However, there are people that can implement some kind of social scoring systems, and this is not a good thing, because people are controlled by AI and by the government. and you are evaluated by these images. I think it's not ethical. In Europe, that's not possible because we have AI Act, and as Orlan mentioned, and I think this is a good thing that AI Act has in their document.
So you both highlighted critical issues about privacy, about consent, and how the data is collected. But does it already exist? You mentioned it, but some regulations that help to guide this kind of issues and to implement a responsible way of AI and in a more responsible way as well.
Yeah, so André mentioned about the AI Act. Of course, the AI Act bans some certain applications of machine learning or of artificial intelligence, and that's a positive thing about the AI Act, is that it focuses more on, the applications of AI than on the, let's say, algorithms or of AI or the development of AI. But on the other hand, the AI Act establishes a division of AI applications in terms of the risk. So there is the high risk AI applications, and then intermediate risk, low risk. That's already a little bit of a problem for someone or for companies that are starting or for someone that is working on this field, because of course we are developing an AI system, we'll need to evaluate the risk of our system according to that legislation, and that will require some amount of work of some of the most skilled people in these companies that are trying to work in AI. So of course this is something that is not very good for the innovation in European Union. Of course, in addition to that, we know that European Union is really not leading the AI race. The only startup that has been, successful and is fighting with the biggest American companies, is also Chinese. In terms of large language models, has been Mistral, has very good models and has been doing very well. But even Mistral was founded by 3 people that came from big American companies, right? So we definitely don't want AI applications like the ones that André mentioned, like the social scoring systems or very intrusive facial recognition systems or other things of that type. Definitely we don't want.
And biometric and so on.
Yeah, all that. But we also don't want to kill innovation, and just the fact that companies will have to consider this, we have to fill lots of papers, and we'll have to face the risk of having very heavy fines. That will make people thinking 2 or 3 times before spending a lot of time and a lot of resources developing an AI system, and then having the possibility of not just that it will not work well, but also that someone will think that it's not according to the legislation, and you may have heavy fines, and that's quite difficult. It's not just for the cases in which that is justified, but also for the cases in which maybe there was no problem with that application, but people still are afraid of having that risk, right? So I think regulation is important. We have to live with it, but we shouldn't. I think we gave a very big step at this time. We should first try to get into the race. First, try to win the race, and then when we are well positioned, we can make regulations, because of course we want the rights of citizens to be protected, and of course, I also think that.
I agree with Orland. I think these regulations can kill the innovation. However, these regulations are very important to remind us that AI must serve the humankind. And these regulations remind us that we need to have documentation, strong documentation, what we have done on our projects, on our systems. And I think this is a good thing that these regulations bring to us and to our projects and to our clients. And that's it.
Then, following what you already said, do you have any examples of challenges that you face on day-to-day regarding these regulations, or some things you have to implement already that you use or you have to be careful about?
I think the first one, and I think it's too obvious because Orland already mentioned that, we need to embedding some ethical guidelines. I think it's the first one, because we need to have specialists on the AI Act and in the laws to help us to implement some guidelines, ethical guidelines, laws, etc., and to give us the confidence that we are implementing good AI systems. So the AI systems that fulfill the guidelines. I think another one is the pressure to deploy quickly. I mean, when you need to deploy and implement quickly, probably you will miss some kind of rules and so on. And one good thing to address this issue, I think, is to have strong and robust frameworks. We already have 2-3 frameworks here in BI4ALL, just to ensure that we don't lose too much time implement things that are standard among all the projects. Another thing, I think it's related with metrics. For example, usually when you deploy or when you are developing AI system, you are looking for metrics like accuracy, precision, and so on. However, with responsible AI, with this set of practices, you need to look to another metrics like fairness. You need to explain the models with explainable AI techniques. And I think we need to change our mindset when we are deploying and developing AI systems to look to another metrics to fulfill responsible AI requirements.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think data scientists, and I speak for myself, we tend sometimes to focus too much on the metric that we are trying to optimize, and we may forget, all the rest because we're just focused on improving that. So it's very important that we don't just do that, but we have an ethical mindset. So at the moment, I think that has to be in each data scientist to have that ethical mindset. I think it's important that we talk more about these kind of topics, because we should follow not just an individual ethical mindset, but we should understand what is, let's say, the mindset in terms of ethics of the society. So as I mentioned in the beginning, artificial intelligence or machine learning is very discriminative. Many applications are discriminative. So, for example, if we think about, let's say, a health insurance, and you need to decide how much some person will pay, and of course, if you have an ethical mindset that maybe goes into the legislation or not necessarily, but okay, that's another discussion, that forbids, for example, you cannot use the race of the person for deciding something like that. But for example, you can use the weight of the person, for example, and that means that maybe it will discriminate against, for example, obese people, right? So it's still a form of discrimination, But maybe in the context of that business, of that specific question, is an acceptable, not unacceptable, but it's an acceptable discrimination. Maybe we can accept it, right? Because of course obese people probably will use more the health insurance. So it's normal that there is some discrimination, but we as a society have to understand which discriminations are acceptable and which discriminations are not acceptable. And that is the kind of, let's say, framework within a society that we still don't have it defined. And it would be good that we could discuss more these kind of topics, and that we could, each data scientist, when goes to build some model or some AI application, knows not only his own individual ethics, but also the ethics of the society. Also reminds me, if I may, just there is the moral machine that is for self-driving cars, which is something that I advise everyone to go and play with. So in there you can decide, in case of an accident that is about to happen, what the self-driving car should do. Sometimes it's about, or you kill 2 children plus 1 old lady, or you can decide, right? You can take an action, or you decide that the self-driving car should kill, let's say, the passenger plus 3 old guys and a thief that is running away. So and then you have to make those decisions. Which decision would you make? That kind of things still help a little bit understanding how people think about these situations. But this is, of course, one specific situation. But there are so many more that each data scientist have to face in their day-to-day life. And you need to also think about them and talk about them.
Mm-hmm. And apart from this thing you mentioned that has to be improved or more thought about, do you think there's any other things that that can improve in responsible AI in general? And what does it excite you the most about the future of responsible AI?
I think I can start, yeah. First of all, I think there's still much to improve. I think we have a long way to do. However, what excites me most, I think we already have some frameworks. We already have frameworks in general. Some frameworks, some tools that help us to implement these guidelines, that help us to explain our models, because the models are or the algorithms, the systems, maybe can function as black boxes, and we need to understand what is behind these black boxes. And I think that we already have good tools and good frameworks to study these systems. Now, I think what is missing is we need to find a way to explain these models and these outputs and the decisions made by these systems to people that don't understand AI. I think this is one challenge that we need to address. Because, as I mentioned in the beginning, transparency and if I understand what is behind AI systems, and if I understand how my data is being used, I think I will trust more in AI systems and in AI. For example, related with AI democratization. Before the generative AI applications that we have now, I think people didn't trust a lot in AI because it was more like a technology that is not
Easy to understand?
Yeah, exactly. Easy to understand. And when you have the possibility to interact with AI applications, for example, ChatGPT, I think you can trust more in AI because you are seeing things. You are seeing that AI is able to respond you and to help you in your problems. I think we are in the good path to achieve some responsible AI good practices.
Yeah, so I think that responsible AI is still quite a new topic, has some years, I think. Well, of course, the philosophical problems exist since always, but in terms of AI, when we start talking about it, so it's some years, and of course, some of the things already are present in the legislation, in GDPR, and in AI Act. So what I think is there is lots of things still to happen. Even in research, there are lots of people doing research that tries to cover also these kind of topics that at the end will benefit society. So I think we are in the beginning of this journey, and most of all, I'm looking forward to see what is going to happen than thinking of what exactly will happen. But for sure, one of the things that have to happen is that we as a society have to talk more about these kind of topics that are really important. And especially now that AI, so everyone has access to AI. So we need to talk more about it, and we need to build ethical frameworks that can be used in AI also.
I think that we need specialists on these kind of topics. For example, we are developers, and we need people who understand this kind of topics. What is ethical, what is not ethical.
But the problem is that ethics is not something that a certain person possesses, holds the truth.
Sure.
So it's something that has to be discussed, has to be debated, and we'll never have a consensus about ethics. But we can have a general acceptance of ethical things that we should take into consideration.
Thank you so much for your insights. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for listening to us, and see you soon.